Oh, hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. As I've mentioned in a previous video, I am part of a group of real estate agents in the downtown Charleston office that have collaborated on all of the different offerings and things to do in Charleston so we can help buyers make informed decisions. Now, of course, we're real estate agents and we love to talk about houses all day long, but there's just so much more to making an informed decision. So we've all gotten together and created a group of videos as a collaboration to be as helpful as possible from a distance. So when you're ready, you'll let us know. And whether you're talking with me or someone else, you're in good hands because we all know what it takes to help someone get acquainted and make a decision while not being pushy or overbearing ever. So let's take a look at the parks tour of Charleston. So this is basically what to do on a Saturday in Charleston. And this is a broad overview, so I'll try to go fairly quickly and not take up too much of your time. So this is the peninsula, downtown Charleston. Over here is James Island. This is West Ashley, North Charleston up here, Daniel Island, Mount Pleasant. Let's start with the waterfront park. This was developed by Mayor Joe Riley. He's done a lot of great things for our city. He's getting ready to retire. He may already be retired by the time you're watching this. I think he's been a mayor for 39 years. A long time to be a mayor. So this is the waterfront park. You'll see the pineapple fountain, which is a great place. It's beautifully sculpted. These are residences along the park here. They're probably in the $3 million range or so. Just a nice public park along our coast. There's also a dock here. It's kind of hard to see because of the ship in the distance. Let's take a look at the dock a little bit more closely. Yeah, so if you want to go out and get close to the water, this is a good place to come. It doesn't cost anything, and enjoy the day. Nearby is the aquarium. So this side of our peninsula, there's a lot of Ports Authority here. So this whole section is all Ports Authority, and this is a pretty important part of our economy. So we have actually the second most efficient port in the world next to Hong Kong. So a lot of people like doing business in Charleston as a result of that. So this is the aquarium, and it's a fantastic facility. Actually, it's right here. Let's take a look at it in person, or as close to in person as we can get, being on the internet. So here's the aquarium. Bring the kids. Great place to spend the day. And now let's zoom off to where the first shots of the Civil War happened, which is right here, White Point Gardens. So this is the point of the peninsula here. And this is basically it's referred to as the Battery. There are mansions all up and down this street, and it's obviously right on the water. Let's take a look at it in person. You'll see some cannons and some, kind of relics of a time that is long gone. But it's a beautiful place. This is called the Battery. This is James Island in the distance. And just go, like these folks here, just go be on the water. It's a beautiful place to be. A lot of people go to the Battery. While we're here, let me show you a building that I really like. It's called the Fort Sumter House, which is right here. So this is a condo building. There used to be a pier that came out years ago. I think in the 20s it was built. So there was a pier out onto the water from this condo community. Now let's take a look at Colonial Lake, which is sort of a quintessential southern park. And we'll zoom over. It's still on the peninsula. Get a little bit closer. There's some recreational activities to do here. You'll notice a baseball diamond. We've got 6 tennis courts, and there are many different tennis courts in Charleston, and I'm going to try to show you most of them. But this is Colonial Lake. Let's take a look from a street's perspective to see what it looks like. So yeah, there's the corner of the lake there, and some young ladies walking down Broad Street, basically. And then those tennis courts are right here. Why don't we zoom over and take a look at the other side of the lake while we're at it, just to get a different perspective. There you go. We are on Bufane Street now. So if we were to head in this direction about 3/4 of a mile, we would run into the edge of the College of Charleston. speaking of the College of Charleston, why don't we go take a look at Marion Square Park next? So this is adjacent to the college. The college really just kind of wraps itself in this whole area and various buildings. This is Marion Square. Now, there is something going on when they took this satellite image. It may have been the Birds of Prey exhibition. There's a Southeastern Wildlife exhibition every winter, and this could either be a result of that, because normally this is a big field, and I'll show it to you. So notice the tents are gone. This is what it normally looks like. On a Saturday, it's filled with kids and jump castles and a farmer's market. So this is a great place to come on a Saturday. This is the Francis Marion Hotel. This is King Street in the distance. Lots of great shopping and restaurants on these streets. And again, the college is beyond that pink building. And this is the Calhoun statue. It's a little, and this is Marion Square Park. So now let's just kind of take a quick overview again of the peninsula to get our bearings before we leave it. So those are pretty much the offerings. Oh wait, there are a few other offerings in downtown. So there's Brittlebank Park, which is actually close to the police station. This is the police station here. This is Brittlebank Park. So it has a pier. Many times bands come and play here, and they have oyster roasts and different things like that. So that's called Brittlebank Park. And then the Joe is right next door, named after our famed mayor, Joe Riley. So if you're interested in baseball, this is our semi-professional baseball team. And then the Citadel is next door. And the Citadel is our military college. So let's take a look at the back gate. They wouldn't let us in, but we can kind of cheat and go to the back gate, and I'll show you some photos here. So this is the Citadel. And let's take a look at the parade field. We'll notice all the barracks, see all the checkerboard floors. So this is where they meet for formation each day. And this is where they have their parade activities. So this is the parade field. So parades every Sunday. And if you're in West Ashley or on James Island, you can really, they shoot cannons off during these parades. And of course, there is also fireworks and things like that happen over at the Joe, which is very close by, nearby. So if you hear anything on a summer's evening, it's likely coming from one of those two places. And depending on where you are, you can also hear them play taps each night, which is kind of cool. So their football stadium is nearby. This is the Citadel Football Stadium. So if you're interested in a game, this is a good place to come. They do some tailgating out here. And these are more public tennis courts. So there's 6 of them there. So there you go. And now let's take a look at Hampton Park, which is a beautiful place. It used to be a zoo, which is kind of crazy. I've spoken with some elderly folks, and they remember when they could hear the lions roar in this park, which is crazy to think about. But it's a beautiful place. It's basically this entire area here. There's a street that kind of circles around it. A lot of people jog it. They block it off on a Saturday morning so cars cannot go on it, and you can go and jog and run and do your thing. There's this is the old baseball stadium here. The Citadel practices here. And a lot of people get married here. So let's take a look a little bit closer at this pond here. So this is the Hampton Park Pond. Get an idea. This is the duck pond. So you can see lots of people. And there's a little guy over here I saw before that needs to have a shirt on. I don't know what month it is, but anyway, it's funny. So now let's take a look at, well, there's a picnic area as well. Let's take a look at that. So it's nice. Nicely shaded area, and go have a picnic with the family and friends, and good place to have a barbecue. I think they have some grills out there. And if you have little ones and they're interested in seeing horses, well, the police department houses their horses right here on the other side of the park. So this is the street that circles around the park. And this is where they hold the horses for the city police department. The neighborhood beyond this area is called Wagner Terrace, which is a very popular area. So that is basically the tour for the peninsula. Let's go back to our original view so we can keep our bearings. And let's just take a quick jump over the harbor onto James Island and take a look at this Harborview Park, which is located right here. So this is the end of Harborview Road. It's right next to a private yacht club called the James Island Yacht Club, which is basically here. So let's just look at what the public can access. You'll notice that there's a dock and a little beach there, and just beautiful views of downtown Charleston from James Island. Now let's take a look at James Island County Park, which is a really great, this is one of 3 county parks that offer really a lot to do. So you access it by connecting with Maybank Highway. So you take 171 onto James Island, which is here. And then this is Maybank Highway. And you basically connect on Riverland Drive here, and this is how you access it. So this is what the entrance looks like. So if you're driving and looking for it, take a mental photograph. That is the entrance to the James Island County Park. Now here's a quick overview. Again, there's quite a bit to do here. So this is a big lake sort of in the middle of it, and it wraps around, and you can kayak and different things like that. This, if you have pets, is a great dog park. So notice all those little dots. Those are all people and their pets. And actually, I think there's a dog that's pretty far out in the lake there. So take your dog there. It's fenced in, and your dog can go and enjoy their social life because they need to get out every once in a while, just like everybody else. So we also have a water park here. So in the summertime, this is a great place to bring the kids. It's the James Island. I think it's called the Whirling Waters Waterfront Park. So we've got a water slide here, a little kind of a kiddie pool area that has a water slide in the middle of it. This is a 0 entrance pool, so it's kind of like a beach entrance pool, and this is a lazy river, and this looks like they've taken the water out, so maybe they should have made this a go-kart track in the wintertime because it sure looks kind of bland right now. But that is the Whirling Waters James Island County Park. There's also a playground, which is great. So if you're having a birthday party for the kids, any of the county parks, you can go and take full advantage. And then this is really cool. This is a climbing wall, and I think this is the only climbing wall out of all of the parks. And it's basically located right here. So you come in, and there's a little entrance road, and this is a giant climbing wall right here. While we're on James Island, let's take a look at Plymouth Avenue Park. Now, in a recent video, we shared with you the Riverland Terrace boat landing. Well, this is that boat landing we were showing you, and this is a little park. So if you have little toddlers or you just want to go have a picnic and be by the water in a quiet spot, this is a great little park called the Plymouth Avenue Park. Again, while we're leaving James Island, let's get our bearings again. Remember our peninsula. We've just been to James Island, which was here. Now we're going to go into West Ashley, which is over here. And this is basically your entrance into West Ashley. And West Ashley is kind of like a giant triangle. So when you come from downtown, you have a couple of options. You can bear left and take Folly Road, and now you're on James Island. Or you could stay straight and you're on Highway 17 South, which will take you basically to Florida. Or you can veer off to the right. So this is that triangle I was telling you about. And then basically the neighborhoods kind of intertwine. This will take you up toward the plantations, which we'll cover in another tour. If you're looking for tennis, off of Highway 17, there's Farm Field, which is here. And I think they have 15 courts there. Yep, 15. Let's take a look a little bit more closely. So if you like to play tennis, this is a great place to go. You can get kids' lessons there as well. And let me show you the 526 half loop around Charleston. And of course, this is not a recreational activity, but I think it's pretty important to know about. So this is I-526. So follow me here. This basically connects West Ashley through North Charleston by the airport, of course, by Boeing, of course. It touches down on Daniel Island, and it ends in Mount Pleasant. So that's our half loop, and it's easy to get around. This is about a 17 to 20 minute drive from one end to the other. This is a good way to avoid stoplights in Charleston. So while we're here, let's take a look at the West Ashley Park, which is close to the West Ashley High School. They've got a baseball diamond, a couple of them actually. And my kids went and played soccer here in this big soccer field. So lots of kids out there on a Saturday for sure. So that's the West Ashley Park. There's one other park in West Ashley that I think you should know about. And this is the park at Playground Road. So if you're looking for more tennis courts, we've got another, what is that? 12 more courts, a couple of baseball diamonds, and they also have an indoor pool here. So if you want to swim in the wintertime, good place to be. This little Northbridge Park here is kind of near my house, and it's just like a little area to go and get close to the water. Now, you don't see it in this picture. They're actually building it at the time, but they just renovated this entire area, so there's a dock here now, and just a very nice little amenity for West Ashley. Now let's take a look at North Charleston. So again, our bearings, downtown, West Ashley, James Island. We're going to take a look at the North Charleston area, this area here. So Park Circle is a pretty popular place. It was designed by the same landscape architect that designed Central Park in New York. It's very symmetrical, and a couple baseball diamonds. There's also the Riverfront Park here. So this whole area here along this side of the edge of the coast is actually the old Navy base. So there's a lot of industry there. A lot of it is just vacant buildings as well. And these parks over here kind of commemorate the Navy. So this is a kind of a Navy memorial park here. Also interestingly, in the year 2000, they found the world's first submarine that sunk off of our coast. So right in this building here is where the Hunley is housed. Now, they're not restoring it, but they're basically maintaining it so it doesn't dissolve any further. So it's basically in a tank of water here, and you can go, and they've got a little museum, and you can go, and obviously you can't go inside of it, but it's interesting to see the world's first submarine. And they actually, when they found it in the year 2000, it was fantastic. They actually, exhumed all of the bodies out of it, and they gave them proper burials in a Civil War cemetery here on the peninsula. So that was a big thing in Charleston to finally lay them to rest, which was really, really interesting. So let's take a look also while we're in the Park Circle area at the downtown area, which is, a wonderful place. This is Montague Avenue. This is just kind of like a nice little hub. So a lot of people like living in this area. It's fairly inexpensive. And it's kind of like a little Mayberry, it's a nice little street, and there are a couple of really great restaurants, which I'll show you in another tour. Now, before we go to Mount Pleasant and look at their parks and offerings, on the way there, or a really great thing to do, is to walk the Ravenel Bridge. So my wife and I, we do it all the time with the kids. It's a great way to go get exercise. Beautiful view of Charleston. This is about a 2-mile walk. Every year we have a giant bridge run where 50,000 people run across it. But this is just a great way to go get some exercise and enjoy the views. You can either park downtown or you can park in the Mount Pleasant side. It's better and easier parking if you go to Mount Pleasant. And then at the foot of this bridge on the Mount Pleasant side is the little bridge park. So this is fairly new as well. And it's a nice little park. There's actually a pier here, so you can rent fishing poles here, and you can fish right here. So this is a great little park. I'll show you what it looks like. It's just basically a park that's underneath the bridge. There we go. Yeah, so we're underneath the bridge, and there's the entrance to the park. Now let's take a look at Patriots Point, which is nearby. There's a lot to offer at Patriots Point, and I'll briefly discuss them. A couple of baseball diamonds, 4 soccer fields, looks like 6 soccer fields, and a really nice golf course called the Links at Patriots Point. There's also the Yorktown here the Naval Museum. We covered this in another video. And if you go here, you can actually get on a tour boat and go see Fort Sumter. So we'll take a look at what that looks like. So Fort Sumter, again, we covered this in another tour of the marinas and boat landings, but this is Fort Sumter, so you can go to Mount Pleasant, to Patriots Point, get on a boat, go get out on the water, and go see Fort Sumter, which is a really great way to spend the day. Now let's go back to Mount Pleasant. Now Alhambra Hall is not a widely known park. This is actually a hall. People get married here, and this is in the old village side of Mount Pleasant. And the old village is exactly what it says, the old village. This used to be all of Mount Pleasant right here, and then it expanded to Old Mount Pleasant, which it likely was not called Old Mount Pleasant at the time. But this is very high-end real estate, very sought after. This not as expensive, but still a little bit pricey, but really, really convenient. But there's a park at Alhambra Hall. Let's take a look. So let's take a look at the little play park. So if you have children and want to go spend an hour or two and let them get their energy out, this is a great little park in the old village of Mount Pleasant. Now let's take a look at Mount Pleasant Academy. Now, of course, the schools, their gradings shift around yearly, but this is consistently the best elementary school in the state. This is called Mount Pleasant Academy. It's hard to get in. You have to live there. And there's also a farmer's market nearby. Oh, first of all, let's just take a quick look. We've got, baseball, and this is the school itself. Let's take a look at the farmer's market. This is a really good middle school called Moultrie Middle. And then this right here on the point is where they have a farmer's market, and I believe it's every Wednesday, but don't hold me to that. But I'm 90% sure it's every Wednesday. Now let's move on to the other side of Mount Pleasant. There's another recreation department over on the Whipple Road side of Mount Pleasant, and there's plenty of activities here for the kids. Many different tennis courts and soccer, so that's a good place to go. There's also, before we wrap this up, I want to show you another county park. First of all, I forgot to cover this one, but there's another county park in North Charleston called Wanamaker. And this is a giant water slide facility. So this is off of Highway 152, and this is called the Wanamaker County Park. So make sure and take a look at that. And now let's go take a look at the Mount Pleasant County Park, which is one of the 3 parks. So we've got James Island, the Wanamaker, and now we're over in the Mount Pleasant County Park. Notice their signature water slide that they put in several years ago, which is wonderful for the kids. And there's also a nice little island trail. So there's a nature trail. You cross this dock or this kind of causeway bridge over to this secluded island and go walk and be in nature. So right there in Mount Pleasant. So there you go. There is our parks and recreation overview tour for Charleston. I'd like to thank all of the agents that contributed to this. I wish I could take all the credit, but they really did most of the work here. So thank you for that. And if there's anything that any of us can do for you, we're always here for you. So thanks for using our website, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.